Jesus, come, for we invite you, guest and teacher, friend and Lord. Now, as once at Cana's wedding, speak and let us hear your word. Lead us through our need or doubting, hope be born, and joy restored. Amen. Amen. I have a question for you. Do I have any fellow Southerners here?
Yeah.
Oh, I've got some real fellow Southerners here. Okay, good. This will be familiar to you. For the rest of you, just take notes. Here's some lessons for you. I follow a publication called It's a Southern Thing. Yeah. They share recipes and other fun Southernisms. A few weeks ago, I read an article called 23 of the Quickest Ways to Terrify a Southerner. I can confirm that they were all true. They posed the question to more than 11,000 Southerners. As you might suspect, most of the responses had something to do with snow. By the way, Alabama right now, this week, has been covered in snow, so y'all pray for them. Other responses were varied. A guy named Mark wrote in and said, put ketchup on grits. That one's a big no-no. A lady named Gina wrote in and said one that I heard a lot as a kid. It comes with an accent, of course. I'm gonna call your mama. But Tina wrote in with the scariest one of all. Tell them you've run out of butter. Butter is the most basic food substance. Y'all don't need to know how much butter is in my kitchen right now. There's not a dish that I make that doesn't have butter included. Even the vegetables get buttered. Running out of butter is a culinary catastrophe. The quickest way to terrify someone in the 1st century was to tell them that they're out of wine. Wine was the universal drink of choice. Everyone drank it at every meal. We tend to associate it with fine dining and nice vacations. But in the 1st century, it was as standard as tap water. Without it, there was no meal. There was no celebration. There was no life. It was a terrifying thing to run out of wine. That's why there was such commotion at the wedding at Cana. Jesus and his disciples attend, presumably because they had been invited, but they could have crashed. To the great embarrassment of the hosts, they run out of wine. Apparently, somebody really did call Jesus Mama, and she showed up like a true Southern matriarch to get the party back on its feet. Jesus gets voluntold to do something about the wine situation. We don't know what he did to make it happen. All we know is that between verse 8 and verse 9, water has turned into wine. This is the first of 7 signs which John uses in his gospel to show the power of Jesus. The rest of them come with explanations for what they mean, but not this one. It just happens with no commentary at all, which I think is an invitation for us. In verse 11, John says, Jesus revealed his glory, and his disciples believed in him. This is an invitation for us to see his glory and to believe in him. In the 1st century, wine was the substance of life. It was a life force. In a world where safe and accessible drinking water was often difficult to procure, wine was an essential. Everyone needed it to survive. So when it ran out, life itself was under threat. It's a terrifying thing to run out of wine. When Jesus steps in at the wedding in Cana to turn water into wine, it's more than a miracle. It's more than merely a sign. It's a bold proclamation that this man from Nazareth has the power to give life. Jesus the Christ is the Lord of life. He says of himself later in John's Gospel, I have come that they might have life and have it abundantly. And again, I am the resurrection and the life. By turning water into wine, Jesus shows that he has the authority to give life itself. So it's fitting that on the night he was betrayed, Jesus took a cup of wine and declared it a symbol for his blood. The next day on the cross, he shed his own blood, his own life force, for the life of the world. This man from Nazareth is the Lord of life. The Lord of life came to give life to a weary and troubled world. Jesus came to give wine to those who ran out of that vital life force. I wonder if you've ever run out of wine. Have you ever felt like all the life within you had been zapped? Have you ever woken up feeling no excitement for the day, but only misery and dread? Have you ever gotten that sudden phone call that changed everything for the worse? I wonder if you've ever run out of wine. And I wonder, frankly, if our country has run out of wine. Is the party over? Could it be that the past was better than the future? My siblings, my sisters, and my brothers, it's a terrifying thing to run out of wine. But with Jesus, running out of wine is never a permanent predicament. There's always hope. There is always hope. I'm here to tell you that the Lord of life is still the Lord of life. Nothing has changed since that wedding at Cana. He's still turning water into wine. Jesus Christ, the crucified, is risen, and he is reigning, and he is returning. Are we really out of wine? Maybe today, but not for good. Weeping may linger for the night, says Psalm 130, but joy comes in the morning. Write those words on your heart and live by them. There's an interesting little detail in John's narrative that I think is very important. When the steward tastes the new wine, he says in surprise, "You have kept the good wine until now." The wine Jesus produced was better than anything the hosts themselves had provided. Could it be? Oh, could it be that the best wine is yet to come? Not only will joy come in the morning, but it will be a brighter and a greater joy than we have yet known. With Jesus, the best is always yet to come. Lift up your heads, my friends, The party has only got started. And yet, for the time being, we're still running low on wine. And it's a terrifying thing to run out of wine. It turns out there's way more than 23 quick ways to terrify someone. This is just a scary world we live in. The days are evil, says Ephesians. But we've come this far by faith. And by faith we'll make it the rest of the way. The best wine has yet to be tasted. Abundant life is promised to us through Jesus Christ. And he's never failed us yet. Psalm 30 continues, "You have turned my mourning into dancing. You have taken off my sackcloth and clothed me with joy, so that my soul may praise you and not be silent. O Lord my God, I will give thanks to you forever." Heaven's banquet awaits, prepared for us before the foundation of the world. There we will never run low on wine. And until that day, we hold fast to the hope we have in the Lord of life. To you, O God, be honor and glory, worship and praise, now and